Hey girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today is the start of another weekly reading vlog. This is not so much themed, it's kind of themed but more conceptually themed, and the concept of that theme is mostly read all of my books that I have checked out from the library and via Libby before I have to return them and wait a very long time before receiving them again. Especially for some of the audiobook holds, I bit off more than I can chew. And I did just accept a lot of holds, and I'm very worried that I'm not going to get to them, and some of them have months-long wait, such as Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. I know I'm gonna have to read that one in the next couple of days if I want to read it like this year, I feel like. So that's goal number one. Goal number two, I finally received my pre-order of Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, so if the colors on yours look a little different, that's why. I couldn't really tell like which one I liked more. I think I liked the white rather than, like, it almost looked on Barnes & Noble's website like a kind of greenish tone to the cover, so I picked this one. Very, very excited to read it. However, I do own this, so we're gonna, you know, be playing a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a war to see what wins out. One of my most anticipated releases that I own, so, you know, there's no rush for this one, or some books that I need to get to that I'm still excited for, don't get me wrong, because also the artwork, hello, all the Blake books always have just stunning artwork. I love it. It makes me very, very excited to read this one. Another one that also has really moved up on my TBR because when I used to work at the library, I got Delicate Condition as an ARC, and it did sound like something that I was interested in. I really tend to like pregnancy horror, like that kind of body horror, and like just horror that has to deal with, like, I guess like reproduction systems and body autonomy and those kind of themes. This one definitely has those themes. Taglines are "Her body is no longer her own," and a tense psychological thriller that asks the chilling question, what does it take to be believed? There's also a blurb on here that says this is the feminist update to Rosemary's Baby we all needed, which is interesting because I honestly think Rosemary's Baby, it's one of my favorite horrors actually, but like it holds up like very well for a book that was written in its time, and just I have thoughts on that. Like, I don't think because bad things happen to Rosemary means that it's not a feminist book. I think the social commentary of Ira Levin on like what he was doing was feminist, but that's okay. If this is being comped to Rosemary's Baby, I'm excited about it because it's one of my favorite classic horror books for sure. But this one, I have recently learned that this is the premise, this book is the premise for the next season of American Horror Story, which intrigues me because American Horror Story, we have a very love-hate relationship. I either love this season, like really enjoy it, or I cannot get through the first episode and I never watch it, which I've really fallen off the bandwagon of American Horror Story. I think the last season I watched was their election year one, and the other ones like seem to be like now like you have to watch them all to understand them all to some extent, so I've just kind of stopped watching them. But I'm intrigued that they liked this book so much that they used this as the basis when it hadn't even come out yet for that season of American Horror Story that's coming out. So this has me very intrigued, and I also managed to get the audiobook on Libby, and then if I don't read it within like the next week, I'm gonna have to wait several months. So interested in this one. The Chuck Tingle book as well. Speaking of Chuck Tingle, his discography, his body of work, very, very strange. I'm still very excited to read Camp Damascus, but just, you know, good for him. He really doesn't stick with a genre. The things that he's written are very, very interesting. So interested to see the tone of that one, and of course, we've got a new Olivia Blake. So super pumped for all of those. Those are probably like the top 3 things on my TBR for this week, but we all know how it goes. It's just whatever I am feeling in the mood. So, you know, you'll find out what I'm reading next in the B-roll, same as me, because I have not decided what I'm reading next. It is Sunday today. Plenty of time for reading before the week ahead. So that's the introduction to this vlog, my Sunday update. Gonna go enjoy my weekend, figure out what book I'm going to read next, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Hey friends, happy Monday. I did start, surprise, surprise to no one, I'm sure, Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I'm not very far in it at all, but I am enjoying it. I did not realize in this book that Death is a character and is a narrator, which is pretty cool. I like when books do that, so I am looking forward to reading some more of this today. So far, so good, at least for what I've read. And then today I finally visited the library, returned some books, picked up some holds, said hi to some people, and I got a little library book haul, so I'm gonna quickly share those with you all. And the first one is John Gwynn's The Hunger of the Gods. I read The Shadow of the Gods, was it last year or the year before? I don't remember, but this is the second book in a Norse mythology inspired series. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, I just need to go ahead and read this one before I forget everything that happened in the first book. So I saw this, made sure to pick it up. The cover is super cool as well. The cover for the first one is what inspired me to pick this series up. So if you like almost like the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, feels like that a lot, Norse inspired mythology. So hopefully, you know, I'll pick it up soon before I forget everything that I read in book 1. And then the rest are all pretty recent horrors. So the first one is Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. This one, I think it's like almost like a like Five Nights at Freddy's scenario, I wanna say. Who is Mr. Magic? Former child stars reunite to uncover the tragedy that ended their show and discover the secret of its enigmatic host in this dark supernatural thriller. It matches my hair pretty well right now, but I just have really been loving this type of horror recently, so I'm intrigued. I can't remember if I've read anything by this author or not. The name sounds really familiar, and it looks like she's written a whole ton of stuff. I don't think I've read anything though by her, but nevertheless, I'm excited to pick this up, see what's going on. A creepy kids TV show, child stars coming back to confront their past, intriguing. I also have The Handyman Method by Nick Cutter and Andrew F. Sullivan. I have never read anything by Andrew F. Sullivan. I have read a lot by Nick Cutter and love his work. So this was definitely a pickup because of the author. This looks like it is a haunted house story. The trials of home improvement, destructive insecurities, and a horror beyond imagination collide in this terrifying story. So Handyman Method, I'm guessing that this family is going to be fixing up a house. Crazy things start happening. So it's been a while since I've read a Nick Cutter book, so I'm very intrigued to pick up this collaboration. And then last but not least, we have a book that I've wanted to start so many times already, but I've been waiting for my mom to get her copy so we can read it together as a book club, because she's getting hers via Book of the Month, and I just checked mine out from the library. But that's going to be Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Canas. Vampire, possibly historical fiction, I believed. I absolutely loved La Hacienda by this author last year, so I'm very excited to pick this up love vampires. I really enjoyed this author's like the gothic horror of her last story, so looking forward to checking this out as well. So yeah, all of these very anticipated. Who knows, you know, you might see them in this vlog, you might see them in next vlogs, you might see them in a TBR coming up soon. So that is really all I have in terms of reading updates. I haven't, again, like I've read some of that, I've read some of another book for another video, but that's its own video. So other than continuing to read Masters of Death and prioritizing library holds that I really need to return by the end of this week, that's pretty much all I have in terms of reading updates. So obviously had to get more books at the library. Love the library, use your library. Was very excited to be back there physically and picking out books. So that is Monday's update. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Hey friends, happy Wednesday. It has been kind of a strange Wednesday. Just, you know, when you have a bad day, you need some self-care vibes. So we're trying to embody that today. It's still hot. I am trying to take my mind off things. So we may or may not have done some candle therapy. And when I say we may or may not have done, we definitely did do some candle therapy. I actually bought those candles yesterday, but I was not feeling like going inside the store. All of the Bath & Body Works 3 Wicks candles were like $12.95. They're normally like $25, $26. So I hopped on that deal, had some other coupons. They totaled out to be about like $9 a piece, which was awesome. I needed some more fall in my life. So little bit of a fall candle haul, and I did pick them up today because we need that, or at least I need that right now. So I got, as you can see from the jars themselves, very fallish colored jars. So it's getting late, that's why the lighting is not so good. Also gonna try and do this without the dogs thinking that the candles are their business. They love the smell goods just as much as me. Had to get a very basic pumpkin spice latte. Felt like this would be a very fall scent. I've never actually had any of these candles, so yeah, I normally stick to like the same couple of scents, same tried and true marshmallow fireside leaves like over and over again, but I'm trying some new ones out. This one is pumpkin vanilla cream, so pumpkin, nutmeg, and vanilla. This one I feel like has a good balance between sweet and like more of a natural pumpkin. Definitely used to work at a Bath & Body Works and definitely used to do a way better job about describing scents, but that is a period of employment in my far past. But yeah, I'm excited to burn this one, excited to burn them all. And then the last one I picked up because the name of my hometown is in it, which I just thought was so cute. So this is white pumpkin oakwood, and this is pumpkin sandalwood and spice. This is a very kind of earthy pumpkin and like a spiced pumpkin. Fragrance Notes also says it smells like pear. I don't get that in it, but I'm excited as well. So there's my pumpkin candles. So I'm excited to burn those. Might burn one of those, watch like an autumnal movie tonight, fall movie tonight, just to keep my mind off things. Both me and my partner's family got like some news that potentially isn't too great. We don't know the full extent of either of the family situations, so yeah, just like send good vibes, well wishes. I'm really trying not to talk about it because number one, you know, their business is private, and number two, I just am trying to keep my mind off of it, which is why I've been trying to keep myself busy, and which is why me and my partner actually went to Lush, because I know it's hot, but I feel like having a self-care bath too might be really nice. So got some bath bombs as well. I'm sure you'll see them in some b-roll footage later, but yeah, definitely had to pick up a lot of goodies for self-care because I definitely needed that today. Last night I stayed up late reading not Masters of Death, but actually another book which I've actually been working on since May. Finished it last night. It is kind of like the end of an era. It's the last book in the Dandelion Dynasty series by Ken Liu. This is Speaking Bones, the fourth and final book. They're all like 1,000 pages long, so definitely feels like at times like a history book or a narrative nonfiction book, but I truly have never read, like this feels like a real place. The Empire of Dara feels like a real place, Ukiah Ta'asa feels like a real place, Ukiah-Gande feels like a real place. It just, like, all of these places in here, I feel like I could go and see the ruins of like the things that happened in here, the histories, the peoples, the cultures, and I feel like I had a lot more eloquent quotes and like things to talk about this one, but today did not go how I thought it was going to go. So I'm finished with this series. I feel like I'm never going to read another series like it ever again because just the scope is so immense. Such incredible storytelling. You really follow like generations of not just like a family, but a whole entire civilization. It's really cool. It's quite something. I would not suggest this for beginners to adult fantasy. You know, it's like a hefty challenge, but well worth it if you like militaristic and wide spanning, very large in scale fantasy series. So yeah, finished it. That was an end of an era last night, and that's all I'm gonna say about it because I haven't been mentioning that I've even been reading it because I've been reading it on and off since May. I'd been listening, like while reading, I'd been listening to the audiobook to really immerse myself in this world, so I had to wait a couple of times until like the audiobook got returned to Libby and then checked back out to me, so I finally finished this. Definitely feel like I maybe had more to say about it, but that's really gonna be the reading update. I don't know how long this vlog is going to be or how much I'll feel like vlogging. Like today I very much want to like try and vlog or just try and like do self-care things, talk about other things, keep my mind preoccupied. Other days maybe not until the end of this week. So we'll definitely have to see what this vlog ends up like looking like, but I'm rapidly losing light, so this is really all that there's going to be for this update. I finally finished this beast of a series, planning on getting back to reading Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. Yeah, and I will talk to you all later, sometime later, maybe tomorrow, maybe not, with another update. Hey friends, happy Friday. I am still not feeling the absolute best, just a little brain goblin-y sort of week. And I have not gotten a lot of reading in, but today, you know, it's Friday. I think I might rearrange my work schedule and maybe work a little extra on Sunday or something like that because I am just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it today. I just think that I need to relax and burrow in with the dogs and just kind of try and pick myself up. So we're gonna see how that goes. I'm still reading Masters of Death by Olivia. I'm actually thinking that I'm going to read this along with the audiobook and maybe annotate this. That might be kind of fun, so I might do that because I'm really enjoying it so far. I love Olivia's writing style. And I'm really enjoying this book. I'm not that far into it at all. At least I don't think so. I'm like 20% of the way through. And I'm just really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the characters, enjoying the writing style. It's definitely like a non-traditional vampire book. And it just has so many other like creatures in it. So I am enjoying this one. I am savoring it very slowly. I did get some really awesome book mail today, so I'm gonna show you that as well because I've been waiting for this for a long time. And that would be the Bone Season 10th Anniversary Edition by Samantha Shannon. I love the Bone Season. It's one of my favorite series. It's what really got me hooked into Samantha Shannon's writing because I did really love Prairie of the Orange Tree, and then like when I went back and started reading her backlist of the Bone Season, I was just so hooked, and it became just like one of my favorite series. So I had to pick this up. I'm very excited. I don't think like this has been done before from any books that I can think of, but Samantha Shannon wrote this first book when she was a teenager, and she went back and just kind of beefed it up a little bit. She's obviously a better writer now than she was 10 or so years ago, and just made this a more accessible series starter for people wanting to get into the Bone Season series, which is absolutely awesome because I love high fantasy. I love like high sci-fi, like really speculative things, and it doesn't bother me if you're kind of thrown into things. But I know a lot of people find like starting a series very intimidating and very hard, so I think it's super cool that this was just kind of re-edited, reworked to make it an absolutely wonderful introduction to the Bone Season series. So I'm very excited. I don't think I'm going to read it just yet. I kind of want to wait and reread the whole entire series a little bit closer to when the next book comes out. But this is absolutely beautiful. I love it. It's going on the shelf. I'm gonna have to rearrange my shelves, honestly. Samantha Shannon might need her own shelf in a little bit with how big her books are and how many of them I own. But this is some exciting book mail, so that made my day. So I think that's what I'm gonna do is, you know, I might order something. I might order like a special little treat for lunch or something like that, and then just kind of veg with the dogs and try and bring my mood around, just because it's been a week. It's been a week. So it's just been a little bit challenging mentally for me, but I'm excited for the weekend. I'm so excited that I have this gorgeous book in my hand. I also might maybe rearrange my shelves a little bit and try and find a space to fit this on my shelves. So I might take you along with me for that. Just a very chillaxed weekend, and we're gonna bring my mood around. Everything's gonna be great. And I will talk to you all in a little bit. Hey friends, happy Saturday. I am currently waiting for my family's kind of weekly FaceTime call. We try and get everyone together at least once a week. So it hasn't happened for a couple weeks. We're waiting kind of on standby while I'm waiting for the call to start. You know how it is, I'm sure, if you have any sort of family call with a lot of people in a lot of different time zones and places. My brother, who organized it, said sometime between 2 and 4, so we're waiting on that. But I figured while I was in my office waiting for the FaceTime call, I would just come on here and give a reading update. Still loving Masters of Death back there. I don't really have anything additional to say about it other than the fact that I absolutely adore it. I did pick up another book because, like I mentioned before, I was really looking for for cozy, happy, like very comforting reads to get me in a slightly better mood from a couple days ago. So I ended up picking up this cozy fantasy, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This is the first in a series, and I honestly would liken it to like adult Spiderwick Chronicles. So it is about Emily Wilde. She like researches fairies and fae for a living. So she goes to this isolated island town to study their local fae and fairies. And she has, you know, this field journal. This is written in epistolary format. It's Emily Wilde's journal, and she's taking notes on the townspeople and their interactions with the folk and interactions with fairies and fae and everything as well. Her rival, which she feels like he's a rival, he doesn't think that she's a rival to him, which is a fun dynamic. Her rival Wendell comes and is also researching these fae, but he might have a different motive than she. Wants to publish a research paper and eventually publish an encyclopedia of fairies. He might have some slightly different reasons for why he's traveling to this island and investigating with her, helping her with her research, but that's also like a grumpy kind of sunshine, I think. I haven't finished it. I'm like 70% of the way through, and it is a series, so it might be like a slow burn friends slash rivals to lovers. We'll see with Grumpy Sunshine, where our grump is Emily Wilde and our sunshine is Wendell. Their dynamic's very fun. It's very fun to read. It definitely has a good blend of like darker, slower, whimsical, and then also like the fae being the tricky creatures of mythology that they are, with, you know, some harsh consequences with different customs, and, you know, they're encountering like brownies and changelings and all sorts of different fairy creatures. So I am enjoying this one. It is a very cozy read. Honestly, when I heard it was going to be a series, I was a little bit conflicted. I saw like on my library app that it was a series when I was about 100 pages into this. Didn't understand like how it could be a series or why it could be a series, because this is like a pretty good standalone to me so far right now. However, things have started happening where I can see where it's going to get into more of like a series, but I think it'll be more of like an episodic series. So this is very exciting. I think this is this author's first adult series. It looks like she's written a bunch of middle grade novels, which honestly, like it's very whimsical. It's dark and whimsical and just like a very cozy read. I do kind of wish that I would have read this closer to the winter, because it does take place in like October, November. Like it's very snowy. So I kind of wish I would have held off, but I am enjoying it, and it is a nice cozy read. So that's pretty much all I did yesterday, was just, you know, breeze through this. So I plan on finishing this today. Masters of Death, I don't think I'll finish today, because I'm taking my time with that one. I'm really savoring every single word, because it's not every day or every week that you get a release by one of your favorite authors. So I'm gonna be taking that slower and, you know, finishing this. I did get a bunch of really cool books from the library. In terms of Behold, I had to return some books to the library, and, you know, I got more. That's how it works. But I feel like getting new library books in is kind of the same as purchasing new books, where they're like the brand new shiny books, at least to you, and you want to pick them up, but you're trying to stick to a TBR. So I am going to finish this pretty soon, and then I don't know what I'll pick up next. Definitely will still be reading Masters of Death, but I think that's what I want to read for a more prolonged period of time while I pick up other books in between, if that makes sense, because I want that to be like an occasion. That's my before bed book, like reading a chapter, being very intentional with it before I go to bed. This is for like all day reading. So yeah, that's the reading update. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Saturday, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, so it is Monday. It is time to wrap this vlog up. Just a couple of reading updates before we end. I did end up finishing Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia Faeries. I really enjoyed this. For me, it was a really good blend of like a cozy fantasy, but also with some darker fae elements. I will be continuing on with the series just because I thought it was really fun, really cozy. And you know, the ending, I'm kind of curious to see what our main characters get up to next. So very intrigued. I'm not sure when that comes out. It should come out soon because I can already like place a hold on it for Libby, but it's not out yet. So it's coming out either end of this year, beginning of next year, but I enjoyed this and I'm excited to have found like a very cozy fantasy series. So enjoyed this, and this is one of the books that I needed to read to return back to the library, so that's good. That was one of my goals for this week, was to read some library books. And then after I finished that, I actually picked up Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, and I read about an hour of that via audiobook, and I'm DNFing it. I do understand what it is trying to do, and I think maybe I might mesh better with it if I can read it physically, just because an hour in, like, I knew what he was trying to do with our main character and just like her very ultra religious upbringing, but that's just not something I want to read right now. I know that it's going to be challenged. I know that's the point. I know that it's like a heavy critique of conversion therapy camps in the United States for queer youth, but I can't read about that right now. I know it's going to be challenged. I know our main characters are gonna find some justice, but just the beginning, keep that in mind. If you've ever listened to any sort of that rhetoric, if you've had to grow up with any sort of that rhetoric, whether it be just from like society at large, your parents, your church, it's rough. So it also read like very YA, and I tend to like to read YA books physically. I don't know why. Like, the audiobook narrator could be the best narrator in the world, and this one is by Mara Wilson, so it's nothing against this audiobook narrator, but just I don't know why YA books I tend to enjoy better reading rather than listening to. So for a lot of reasons. I know this isn't YA, but the tone of it feels very YA, and just I looked at some reviews. The reviews promise the ending's really slow. It gets way better, but just, you know, I returned it to the library so someone else can have a chance with it, because again, an hour in, and I wasn't enjoying it. Life's too short, let's just DNF. So I did DNF that one. I wanted to mention that because I mentioned it at the beginning of this vlog as one that I was really looking forward to reading this week, but it just ended up not being like a book that I want to read at this point in time, which is totally fine. And then I am currently making my way through two different books. Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I'm 60% of the way through this one. I'm loving it. Magical creatures, like, we have such an oddball assortment of characters that are like angels, demons, ghosts, vampires, like pretty much any creature that you could think of. There's one who's a main character. We follow Death as a main character. We follow archangels as characters. Like, this is so fun, and there's like a game element being involved, a mystery as well. I'm loving it. This could be one of my favorite Olivia Blake books ever, which is saying something because I don't think I've ever given anything of hers less than a 4 stars. So very excited to keep on reading this throughout next week. This one, like I mentioned before, I'm just really trying to take my time with it because I'm loving it so much. And then look at me actually picking up all of the books that I mentioned in the introduction of this vlog. I am also reading Delicate Condition by Danielle, Valentine. I have the audiobook out via Libby. I'm only about 20% of the way through, but I should be able to finish this up within the next couple of days or so. Definitely I get the comparisons to Rosemary's Baby. We're following an actress named Anna who is in her late 30s. Her and her husband are trying to conceive. This is like a horror thriller that, you know, really dives into pregnancy and motherhood, and just like the horrors that go along with that, the horrors of modern medicine and what it takes to be believed in your own body. There was a quote that that I wanted to read really fast that kind of has the tone, talking about like what people go through in pregnancy. So page 80 I thought was a pretty good quote of kind of like, you know, the general tone of this book and what it's critiquing. So Dr. Hill was always telling me that some discomfort during pregnancy was perfectly normal. It had gotten to the point where the two things were linked in my mind. The discomfort was the baby, and the more I suffered, the healthier the baby would be. So I will absolutely be continuing on with this next week as well. Pretty much gonna jump into my new weekly reading vlog after I wrap this up. So I'll be finishing Masters of Death, finishing Delicate Condition, and who knows what else I will be reading in the meantime. But that is going to be the end of this weekly reading vlog. I know I had mentioned kind of in the middle of this vlog that there had been some like health scares, some family things that was having me just like a little bit on edge, but both of those seem to be doing okay, which is really good because I was very worried on Wednesday, but everything seems to be doing good. On the plus side, I am an aunt, which is very exciting. That was one of the things I was worrying about because I'm an aunt a few months earlier than expected. I was expecting to become an aunt in November, but everyone's doing good there. Just wanted to give an update because I was very nervous this week. So, and then the other thing is going fine as well. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this vlog. Hopefully the week to come has a few less like health scares and you know, just good times all around. Hopefully I'm in a better mood, all of that good stuff. But thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel for all the cozy gaming and bookish content. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!